We're joined by former United and Ireland striker Frank Stapleton, alongside Frank, Steve Bates from The People. Don't forget, if you want to drop us a line with your point of view, it's today@channelm.co.uk. Let's turn to Manchester United. Ian, set the ball rolling with this one, lad.
Well, it was Wayne Rooney who grabbed the headlines, of course, his 100th Premier League goal and United's 3-1 win at Arsenal yesterday. Nani also showed his ability to step out of Ronaldo's shadow.
In 3 previous league visits to the Emirates, United had failed to win. A sublime piece of skill from Nani, though, and then a huge helping hand from Almunia gave a clear indicator that record was set to change. So Alex's side doubled their advantage thanks to one of the best pieces of counter-attacking football that you'll see. After starting the move, Rooney was on hand to finish the move in fitting style. United hit the Gunners on the break again in the second half. Ji-sung Park held his nerve to give his side what was surely an unassailable 3-0 lead. With 10 minutes left, Vermaelen reduced the arrears with a big help via a wicked deflection from Johnny Evans. It turned out to be nothing more, though, than a consolation for the hosts. Andy Dickman, Channel M Today.
Well, you have to say at the moment, Wayne Rooney looks pretty much like a force of nature. Frankly, United have had some fantastic players down the years, but the lad's just turned 24, but he's got a wealth of Premier League experience already because he started so early. Terry Venables over the weekend called him the English Maradona. Is that hyping it a bit, or has he got the potential to be that good?
Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, he's playing out of his skin at the moment. He's what they call a purple patch. Everything that he does, he doesn't seem to make many mistakes, doesn't give the ball away very often. Maybe Terry's hyping up for the World Cup this year, I don't know. But certainly the player himself has got to be delighted with his form, because it isn't only about the fact of the way he's playing, it's the roles he's been asked to play. You know, you think back to the first leg in the Carling Cup semi-final against City, when he played up front on his own, and very similar yesterday, but played up front on his own and didn't really feature too much in the game. Didn't really, every time he touched it, it was always to go back. But yesterday, it was just like he controlled everything. He had the 2 centre-backs backing off him, not going too tight, afraid of whether he make a run behind. And everything that he did with the ball, he was always a threat, and he linked up with the other players brilliantly. But what's happened now, and the difference, is that the Manchester United midfield is all of a sudden, they trusted him now with the ball. They're going beyond them. That's what happens. If you don't trust the player to keep the ball for you, if you get beyond them, you're in trouble, because then they're running straight back at your back four. But now you can see it. The players know what he's going to do. They know that he's playing so well that 9 times out of 10 he's going to find them.
Now, I know that you talk to Capello on a regular basis, Steve. He must have everything on his body crossed, hoping the lad takes that form and his fitness to South Africa.
Obviously, you know, he realises he's probably the one player in the squad that's vital to have with him in South Africa. But he's not worried that there's going to be a burnout element to this. You know, he's quite confident that Rooney's got so much energy, excuse me, and enthusiasm that, you know, even if Alex Ferguson did play him in every game till the end of the season, which is probably unlikely, but even if he did, he believes Rooney's got the reserves of strength there to cope with that.
Now, Ian, let me ask you, because over the weeks that we've been talking, United, it's all been about financial crisis, the club, the side's not even playing that well, they've not really hit the straps. I think it's fair to say, from a United point of view, it's been a pretty good week for them.
Well, it's been an excellent week for them. I think they've got exactly what they would have wanted out of these 2 games. Obviously, beaten City, gone through to the League Cup final, proved a point as well to a lot of people who were saying that, you know, City were coming through and we're going to be the force in Manchester. And also the performance in both games as well. Great win at Arsenal, absolutely blew them away. Obviously Arsenal probably didn't play as well as they could, but you wonder how much of that was of how well United played. And the league table now as well looks okay. Arsenal, of course, next week go to Chelsea as well, and you never know what sort of happens in those games. Hopefully, from a United perspective, you know, Arsenal can take some points off Chelsea.
And Steve, as a journalist yourself, was it nice to get back to writing about United and football rather than United and pick notes?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, United have been on the business pages quite a bit, and the financial story has been the one that's dominated, really, Old Trafford the last few weeks. So it was nice, as you say, that they've had a great week, big win against City. But perhaps I think, from the manager's point of view, an even bigger win against Arsenal. From the paper's point of view, obviously it's only really come to the fore in the last few weeks, the financial situation, even though it's sort of been similar and simmering underneath for a while. Do you think it's harder to sell the idea that a club's in crisis when they're winning European Cups, when they're winning 3 Premier League trophies in a row? But that little blip that they had just at the right time when their financial results were announced, you know, a couple of defeats in a row and getting knocked out the FA Cup to Leeds, is it easier almost to sell a club in crisis when it's not going right in the pitch? Frank will tell you, if you are winning on the pitch, it masks everything. Everybody's happy. The fans are happy. The fans, at the end of the day, really, while obviously they don't want to see the club deep in debt, they're really only bothered at the end of the day about the team winning on the pitch. And for me, that's the overriding thing. But as for selling a club in debt, I think, by the way, this new bond issue was taken up so quickly and voraciously by investors, that shows you exactly what Manchester United are, and that's still the biggest brand in football.
You might talk about the pitch, but it's the brand. It's what's been achieved over a number of years. It isn't just about what's happening now, because people know it's a world brand. We know that Manchester United are worldwide. That's what's sold. That's why people have, let's say, snapped at it. But they went to America and sold the bond in America. Obviously, institutions bought it all over the world. But the brand is worldwide. That's why people have bought it. They see it as a good long-term investment.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Frank, but I think what a lot of United fans are a bit scared of is that if the debt gets to a level where it starts to seriously impact on the team, any business, certainly in the football team, your ultimate defence is results. But if it did start to impact that Alex Ferguson was under pressure to sell players or would not have the resources to buy players, that is what the fans are scared of. I don't think they're overall too bothered about whose name's over the door, are they?
Well, I wonder about... They say that a lot of supporters have been protesting about getting Glazers out. The thing is, who's going to take over, and what's the situation? Is it going to be better or worse? Could get worse. But I just think its financial situation worldwide has had a big influence on the debt, obviously. But the thing is, in this market, if United's worth £1 billion, what is it worth in a good market?
Ian, let me ask you, have a younger perspective. See, because I watched football for 50 years, and for the first 30 of those, nobody mentioned money. I didn't know what a bond was or a pick note. We just talked about players. Are the younger generation as bothered as the middle class or the middle-age watchers about what's happening at United, do you think?
What you mean in terms of the financial situation? I would say so, yeah. I think any sort of responsible fan in this sort of situation, if they see that the club is in a lot of debt like United are, then I think you have to worry. I know Steve said, obviously, if they're winning on the pitch, that's the primary concern. But if you are winning on the pitch still, you still want to make sure that this run is going to go on and on and on. And I think something that really has brought it to the fore is obviously the emergence of Manchester City as a major force. And with this massive financial clout, you've suddenly got United fans looking across the city and thinking, well, they can afford to spend 25 million on players, but can United still do that? I don't know, and I think that's what's sort of brought it through a little bit more and made fans probably that little bit more concerned.
Now, the papers were absolutely chock-a-block this weekend, Steve, of footballers rather than football. John Terry, ears will be burning, I'm sure. But I suppose of local interest is one of the names in the frame, if he does stand down as the England captain, is Wayne Rooney. Would that be a responsibility too far?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I know Capello has spoken before about believing that Rooney will be a future captain of England. And I think he'll also be a future captain at Manchester United. Whether you'd want to saddle somebody with that kind of responsibility, he's only 24. I'm sure Capello is an astute and experienced manager. He won't want to cloud Rooney's mind going to South Africa with anything other than just performing and doing his job. There are other players in that team who are older, more experienced. You've got Lampard, you've got Gerrard, you've got Rio, Ferdinand. So you've got plenty of players there who could take the armband. I think with Rooney, he's just maybe a little bit too early. The lad could do it because he's got everything, hasn't he? And I don't think he'd get fazed by being the captain at all. But for me, I would leave him to just do what he does best.
Would you make him captain, Frank?
No. I don't know how he's surviving now. He's got a young baby. How's he got away with that? How's he playing so well? when you have a young baby and you're playing, I know that. But they get you up at night. It doesn't matter whether your wife gets up or whatever. I think, I don't know how he's doing. He looks, I don't know, maybe it's that responsibility, or maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, but maybe the responsibility of him being a father now and having a real normal family life has helped him. That may be part of it, as well as the ability that he's got. You can't take that away, but it's just amazing to me that I just think, I agree with Steve in that respect. Giving him the captaincy, there's a bit more expected of it, and then he might take away from his own game. So it's best just Capello will just want the focus. Let's be fair. Last year, he just scored 10 goals for England last year in the whole of the actual the annual in 12 months period. He scored 10 goals, which is brilliant. So he hasn't got too many problems playing for England. So maybe just leave him as he is. He's getting better and better.
Focusing on John Terry as an ex-player, do you think that the situation in terms of taking the captaincy off Terry after the stories that have come out, do you think that's something that they should do, or do you think that his private life should be kept, separate to the football?
It's very hard to keep that apart, especially when you've transgressed. But it's up to the manager. I think really the manager's interpretation of it is important. And he'll speak to the player privately and say, how do you feel about it? Are you still okay about going with it? I would say that if he's happy enough to continue with it, even though there's an outcry for him to resign because it was another player's involved, I think that it kind of brings into question not so much, I don't know, not loyalty, but the other players are kind of a bit upset with that. But that's only what we're reading in the papers. I'm not so sure. I think when he sits down with Capello, first thing Capello will say, is this affecting you mentally? But certainly on the pitch, it doesn't seem to have bothered them at all.
It's not an isolated incident with Terry, though. There have been 2 or 3 kind of incidents over the past couple of years while he has been England captain that have maybe been less than kind of savoury, and really, I think Terry... I really believe Terry should sort of do the decent thing, fall on his sword, not put the onus on Capello to make that decision. I think, you see in many other walks of life, people do transgress, they resign, particularly in politics. I think John Terry will look at his role as captain, see that he's a role model for youngsters and people look up to him. He's also got to have the trust and the respect of the dressing room. Now, I'm sure he has in terms of when he goes on that pitch. He's a man of courage and nerves of steel, as we know, when he goes on the pitch. But, being England captain, there is more to it than just performing on the pitch. You have to, for me, not be whiter than white, because who is these days, but you just have to, have responsibility and perform your duties well.
What about the Team Brid T-shirts? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that, really.
It wasn't the English players, apparently, though.
It wasn't, no. Barry and...
Wright Phillips
Wright
as well,
Phillips didn't go for that, did they?
Right, we'll talk some more football in a while. It's time for a quick break. Remember, we do want to hear from you. Drop us a line today at channelm.co.uk.